What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pens and Tea. My name is Carrie. Today we are trying out a new mic system. It is much bigger, so we'll see. I don't know what it's going to sound like. You're going to have to let me know in the comments down below if you liked it. This is an experiment together, but big shout out to all of those who support me on Patreon. Link in the description if you'd like to help be one of those members. But because of you guys, I could get a new mic because my old mic is dead. It got dropped into a mug of tea by mistake weeks ago, like a couple months ago. And it has just finally given up the ghost. It crackles and stuff like that. So we're going to see what this is like. I've never used a mic of this style wirelessly. So we're just gonna have to experiment together and find out. But while we experiment, I wanted to talk to you guys today about pens that I think are underrated. I think a lot of pens are talked about a lot. A lot of pens are loved a lot. I clearly talk about pens a lot. But there are some that I don't talk about too much. And I really think that they're underrated pens that need to be talked about more. I have four in front of me, and one of which I feel like is sort of middle ground in the sense of it's more rated. It's more talked about than the others, but I still feel like it could be talked about more. I feel like it's been forgotten about. So let me actually just start with that one then. So I used to talk about this pen all the time. It used to be one of my favorites. It was like one of the most expensive fountain pens I'd ever purchased at the time. It was the first fountain pen I ever actually had, custom ground by a nib meister. It was a pen that I sought after for a very long time. I finally have it. I still have it. I adore it. And it is the Aurora Optima fountain pen. Now, I feel like this one is talked about. It's not like it's never talked about, but I feel like in the last probably 3 to 4 years, people have stopped talking about the Aurora Optima as much. And I think it's a shame because it's a really great fountain pen. It is, I think, appropriately sized. It's not oversized. It's not a pocket pen by any means, but it's not too big, too flashy. You can get obviously multiple colors. This is the burgundy one. I have not the nib actually that came with the fountain pen. This one is a stub nib. It's an 18 karat gold. The nib that actually came on this pen, I currently have on this Aurora Optima, which came with this pen actually. So it came with a medium nib 14K gold nib and a red ebonite feed. And I had this one custom ground because I purchased the fine, but there was like stock problems or something like that. So the website said the fine was in stock, but it wasn't. So he's like, is a medium okay? I can grind it down to a fine. And I said, you know what? Split the difference. Do a fine medium. So he did. But I've switched that one out because I wanted to have the stub nib in there. And I think this isn't, like I said, is really underrated. It is a piston fill. You get a really nice ink window, which I'm slowly twisting the knob up here. Cool thing about the way that this works is when you do have the piston all the way down, it forces the last little bit of ink up and over the section where, I'm actually going to undo this, where like the ink actually goes into the feed. So that way you can make sure you get every last drop of ink. But this is a pretty big barrel, so you're going to have a good amount of ink in here. Fits perfectly in my hand and in a lot of people's hands. Pushes to post to make it even bigger. It's just solid. And I think the reason why this one maybe has started to fall out a little bit of... Sorry, I just got a text message at the same time. I think the reason why some people have fallen out of love a little bit with this one, or at least don't talk about it as much, is because it is a little bit pricey. But the Optimas are Aurora's best pen. I've used some other pens from Aurora that I'm not crazy about, but the Optima, magnifique. Um, so that was a pretty expensive pen. Let's go all the way to the other side to a very, very inexpensive fountain pen. It's a little aquatic. Bloop, bloop, bloop. The Jinhao Shark fountain pen. Honestly, this pen is dope. First of all, it looks like a shark. You can buy multiple colors of it. I just think that, like, if you're gonna get a shark, you might as well get a shark. You know, blue for the water. It's got a little hooded nib, which works really, really well. It's very smooth, nice and wet. It comes with a Jinhao converter. Are they the most perfectly built things that are going to last 100 years? No, but they're going to do the job, and you're going to get probably a couple years worth out of it. But honestly, it's super cheap. It fits really nice in your hand. You can do whatever you want with it, as far as like put different inks in there that, like, you can put Bay State Blue in here, platinum carbon black. Pens like with like ink that would stain a fountain pen. It doesn't matter on this because it's so stinking cheap. Great if you want to get like younger kids into fountain pens, because it's literally a shark with a cute little shark face. Writes phenomenally well. I myself, I'm guilty of this, but we talk a lot about pilot varsities, platinum preppies, all that kind of stuff. But honestly, the Jinhao Shark is less expensive than those, and it writes just as well. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So underrated. Nobody talks about this pen anymore. Back to the expensive side. Little pocket pen. This is the Pilot E95S. I think nobody talks about this for two reasons. One, because the name is dumb. E95S. Why? I know, like, in other places it's marketed as the Elite, which I suppose is what the E is for, but it seems silly. There's only two colors you can get, which is like this gold and burgundy, or you can get black as well instead of burgundy. I have the sticker on it. I know it bothers some of you. For whatever reason, for my Pilot pens, I keep the stickers on. This pen has one of the most satisfying, like, closure systems. I can't even really describe it. It literally hugs the pen as you close it. There's no snapping sound. There's just the most satisfying feeling of smooth resistance. And then you have to push to post. And then the nib is an inlaid nib, which is very different than any other Pilot pen, which I think is super cool. To my knowledge, it only comes with a finer medium nib, so you don't have crazy options or anything like that. You can use the pen unposted, but it's like significantly more comfortable to use it posted. The only thing I don't like about this pen is that the converter, which I have in here, you can't see the ink level. That's really the only thing that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers with this. And it comes with the squeeze bladder version. It doesn't come with this one. I don't really care for the squeeze bladder version either, but it is one of Pilot's lesser expensive gold nibs, and it writes really, really well. It's super smooth, decently wet, starts every time, no hard starts, no skipping, like just dynamite. Like all Pilot gold nibs, honestly, Pilot is one, if not the most, but one of my favorite brands of all time. And this is just so classic looking. And nobody really talks about it. Nobody gives it, love. And I think they should. I actually sold the pen that I had, the E95S, because I was like, whatever. And then a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? I miss it. I'm buying it again. And I did. All right. And the last one that I have that I think is really underrated, that went through its popularity for a little bit, but I don't think is talked about as much anymore. And that is some form of a dip pen, whether that is glass or whether that is like an actual metal nib. I think that everyone should have some form of dip pen at their ready. I think it is really important, not only just to like try it out because it's flippin' cool, but I think it's really nice if you are really into different inks, a lot of different inks, and you want to like sample a lot of different inks at the same time. That was a weird noise. If you want to like write Christmas cards, for example, or holiday cards, this way you can kind of flip back and forth different inks. You could use your sparkling inks if you don't want to put them into fountain pens. This is primarily how I use shimmer inks. Or extraordinarily like high pigmented inks. This is also where dip pens will come into play. Obviously, with these ones, these like metal ones, you can get crazy level nibs, like just bananas ones, if you really want to flex the you know what out of it. Otherwise, glass dip pens, obviously, there's no flex to that, but they will put down an insane amount of ink, like an insane amount of ink. If you really, really dip it heavy, yeah, it'll take like 10 minutes to dry. But the dynamic that you can get out of your ink is nuts. And I think that these offer such a different experience than like any fountain pen can. And I think that it's something really cool for everyone to try. You can get them from anywhere from like just a couple bucks to like 40, 50, depending on how fancy you want to get it done. I mean, this pen from Rowan Klingner, I bought many years ago, like 5+, I think actually closer to 10 years. I've taped a little bit on the case, but literally it just sits in this like cardboard box. And that's it. It's just how it rolls. And I think dip pens are cool. And I think that more people need to talk about them. More people need to learn how to use them. I'm still a novice with dip pens, especially these ones. Because you can even get like the like actual like calligrapher ones that have like a little nib holder on the outside here so that you can achieve the perfect 45-degree angle for like Spencerian writing and things like that. I don't have that talent. Could I one day if I put in the effort? Sure, but I don't. So those are just some of the ones that I have in my collection that I think are pretty underrated. I had a few more I thought I could talk about, but I was like, those are definitely the most underrated. And now we get to try out the noise reduction for this because my heater just kicked on. Um, but these are the pens that I think are the most underrated of what I have. Let me know in the comment section down below what pens you think are underrated and need to be spoken about more. I'd be very, very curious. And I'm also looking to pick up a few pens, come January, February-ish, once Canada Post is no longer on strike. And so if they are within the budget and I've never tried them before, potentially never even heard of them before, I want to pick them up. So definitely give me some ideas in the comments down below. But guys, thank you so much for watching 13 minutes into this video. You are the reason I make them. And as always, I'll see you later. Bye.